Sustaining Creativity podcast. I'm your host, Mari Riesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. Over the past few years of hosting this podcast, I have come to realize how challenging it can be to expand someone's understanding of creativity who doesn't believe they are creative, or who struggles to see how creativity might support them in their everyday life. Once a month, I'll be choosing a topic I find fascinating, interesting, or exciting, and combine it with creativity to share with you just how much creativity permeates all aspects of our lives. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about creativity and flow. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's solo episode of Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. I am super excited for this solo episode and to take some deeper looks at creativity. Let's get started. Today, I'm going to be talking about creativity and flow. So let's dive into some flow. Flow state or flow theory was popularized by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, a Hungarian-American psychologist, initially in the 70s, but it wasn't until the 1990s when his book On Flow came out, and that's when this really exploded. It's based on research examining people who did activities for pleasure, even when they were not rewarded with money or fame. He was surprised to discover that enjoyment did not result from relaxing or living without stress, but rather during these intense activities in which attention is fully absorbed. Csikszentmihalyi also learned that people were motivated by the quality of the experience they had while they were engaging in the activity. And the flow experience came when the activity was difficult and involved risk. In other words, it usually stretched the person's capacity and provided a challenge to their skills. Flow is defined as an optimal state of consciousness where we feel our best and perform our best. It's also a strange state of consciousness. In flow, our concentration becomes so laser focused that everything else falls away. Action and awareness merge. Our sense of self and our sense of self-consciousness completely disappear. Time can either freeze or stand still or speed up, and throughout all of it, your performance is incredibly heightened. Now, flow refers to a state of mind which brings together cognitive, physiological, and affective aspects. The experience of flow is an optimal psychophysical state, like being in the zone or being in the pocket or being in the groove. Flow also inspires peak performance and is described as an experience when everything clicks or a magic moment. So let me ask, have you ever been completely and utterly immersed in a task? Oblivious to the outside world, focused on your own progress and what's going on right here and now? Or maybe you've been doing something you love, like playing music or a sport, and before realizing that time has totally passed you by. If you've answered yes to any of these questions, it's likely that you've been experiencing a state of flow. In flow, you feel powerful. You're pushing yourself, but enjoying what you're doing. It can feel like you're giving your best and creating something worthwhile. Flow is one of life's highly enjoyable states of being. It wraps us in the present moment and helps us to be more creative, productive, and happy. When you become deeply involved and motivated because you are participating in an enjoyable experience, you have the capacity to enter a flow state. Now, flow is a very diverse field of research and is addressed by people working in the fields of positive psychology, cognitive psychology, the arts, sports, science, sociology, and even anthropologists who are interested in altered states of consciousness, spiritual experiences, and rituals in different cultures. So just to recap, flow is the complete immersion in an activity that you deem enjoyable in some way. The activity must challenge you just enough to push you, and your skills must be tested. Flow is a feeling of exhilaration and bliss. A key component of getting into flow is that we've voluntarily accepted the challenge we're attempting to solve. That's the part of what makes it deeply enjoyable. Now, the experience of flow is universal and has been reported to occur across all classes, genders, ages, and cultures, and it can be experienced during many different types of activities. Here is where creativity joins flow. Creative work thrives in a flow state. Many creative individuals try to stimulate flow states so their creative expressions and experiences thrive, blossom, and spark even more creativity. Flow state is another entryway into creativity. Not only are people more creative when in the state of flow, but people also reported that they were more creative the next day as well. This suggests that not only does flow heighten your creativity in the moment, but it can also heighten creativity over the long haul. In other words, flow helps train us to be more creative. So you might be asking now, how do I get into flow? Well, here are a few ways to spark flow in your everyday life. First, you need to pick a task, a job, an activity that you care about. Now, the task, activity, or job cannot be too easy or too difficult. It should be something that you're good at. And remember, your mindset surrounding the task is more focused on the journey than the destination. Finding that balance between challenge and skill. If something is too challenging, it's hard to get into the flow because you're probably stressed about being able to get it done. If something isn't challenging enough, then you're probably bored, which isn't conducive to flow state. You also need to establish clear goals. When you know what you need to accomplish, it's easier to get into the flow. That's because having clear goals helps you understand if you're successfully completing the task at hand. Super important to reduce distractions or remove them altogether. Close your door, put on your headphones, turn off your phone. We also want to cut multitasking. You are only focusing on one task. At the same time, you don't want to force it. You're also going to focus on the process and not the end result. And when in doubt, do something you like to do. So when you achieve flow, you enter into a state in which the front part of your brain experiences decreased activity, which allows the rest of your brain to function more. Now, this enables new ideas to emerge from your neurons. Now, this state is conducive to creative thinking as it is not inhibited by the more conscious part of your brain. So creativity and flow go hand in hand. Flow supports creativity, and creativity supports flow. The more we step into a flow state, the more creativity we have access to. My invitation to you is to step into your flow. Try some of these ideas out and notice what happens to your creativity. Remember to stay curious and keep that creativity alive. Thanks so much for joining me for this solo episode. I love getting the opportunity to share with you how creativity connects to other areas of our lives and how creativity can support transformation and growth. Creativity is a mindset, and anything we do can be creative. Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.